So I harvest porcupine quills from roadkill porcupine that are brought to me by my neighbors, and they generally leave them for me in the early morning in cardboard boxes in the driveway. And I pluck the quills by off a whole porcupine. Some people skin the porcupine hide and put it away, but what I found to be most effective is to pluck the porcupine, the dead porcupine. All the quills are laying in one direction, and I use bare hands, and I just basically reach in and pluck bunches of quills from the base, and it comes out with all the hair. And the best porcupine quills on a porcupine are actually, for quill work, are the ones that are from around the sides of the porcupine. On the back are the big, heavy, thick quills, and they're not really good for doing quillwork embroidery. They're used for other things. So the fine quills are along the back. And these are just plucked and laid pretty much, parallel to one another. So when I'm plucking the porcupine, they'll come out in big bunches like this with all the hair. It's just my method. Other people have their own. I line them all up so they're all in the same direction. And then I use my left hand to just push the hair down away from the quill so that I can then reach here, hair free, and just pull it away from the hair. We're washing the porcupine quills before we dye them. Porcupine quills, when you harvest them off the porcupine, are really oily, so we have to remove that grease in order to be able to dye the quills. And so this is just a warm solution of porcupine quills and water and some dish detergent. And I didn't boil it, but I got it pretty warm, about 10-15 minutes in the solution, and I'm going to rinse them right now. When you put your hands in there, you do it very carefully. And some of the dyes we're working with are very sensitive to pH, so we want to make sure and get all the soap solution out of here. Otherwise, it'll change the dye color. That's it.
Okay. Did you use warm water, Nancy, or just regular water?
And then we used water, and we brought it almost to boiling, but not all the way.
Okay.
After being washed, the quills are dried. The quills are sorted into piles of varying widths and lengths because although most of the quills can be used, particular sizes work best for different quillwork techniques. For example, wider quills are used for the loom weaving technique, and longer, thinner quills are used for the line technique.
Well, I was taught to put, when you're working with skin,
My brain's all jumped
this is skin,
because just looking at it so different.
and you're going to do some beadwork or quill work on the top of it, or any kind of work on top of it, you put a paper backing, usually it's a brown paper bag. On the back, you stitch it down, you use long stitches in the back,
This is the basic stitch with one quill at a time.
and then on the top, you use small stitches, if you could see those. And then it makes it so that your skin doesn't move and doesn't stretch, and it also
Oh, I see it now.
just makes it sturdier. And when you're done with the beadwork or whatever quill work on top, you can cut the bigger stitches in the back and pull the threads. And I'll trim this paper down to the size of the skin.
And in order to work them, we soak them. And traditionally, they were soaked in the mouth with saliva, but because I have developed the tradition of soaking them in a little saucer, so I don't have to put them in my mouth. So as she's wrapping the fringe, the quills are soft because they're wet, and as soon as the quills dry out, they'll hold whatever shape they're in, and that's how the fringe stays in place. Until they're ready to work, and I'm in the habit of just sticking my hand in the dish to feel if they're soft or not, so you see me doing this from time to time. I'm just checking, and then the nice thing about using a saucer is once they're ready, I just push them off to the side, and so they're out of the water, but they're ready to work. So it's just a question of touch.